Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Whether you are new here or have been here before, welcome. I'm so glad you decided to stop by. Today's video is the part 2 in my melanoma story where I'm talking about SPF as well as my SPF wardrobe. These are those products that I find myself reaching for time and time again. They've become my favorites. And I've partnered with Risa of Risa Does Makeup on this particular video. She has shared a video over on her channel, so check that out, where she is talking with her mom about her mom's melanoma story, and they're talking about their favorite SPFs. So I'm going to link her channel and her video below, so definitely check that out. And if you are here from Risa's channel, thank you so much for coming over. I really do hope you enjoy this video, and I hope you stick around. So if you're interested in hearing a little bit more about my SPFs, then stay tuned. So the reason why Risa and I decided to do this video now is because May is both Skin Cancer Awareness Month as well as Melanoma Awareness Month, and both Risa's mom as well as myself are melanoma survivors. So it's a topic that is very close and near and dear to our hearts. So first I wanted to talk briefly about SPFs. I am going to link some resources below if you guys would like to check those out, but SPF can be a bit confusing, so I'm just going to kind of briefly touch on a few topics. SPF stands for sun protection factor, and it basically gives you an idea of how well this particular product is going to protect your skin against UVA and UVB rays. UVA rays are what is typically linked to photoaging, whereas UVB rays is with burns. And the more burns you have over your lifetime, studies show that that increases your risk of developing skin cancers. Now, one of the things that can be really confusing about SPF is the rating system. Now, this is a rating system that is pretty much governed by the FDA, and the reason for that is because sunscreens are considered a drug. Now, with those numbers, imagine that your unprotected skin takes about 20 minutes to burn. An SPF of 15, for example, is going to mean that it takes 15 times longer for your skin to burn. Another way to look at it is that SPF 15 will typically block out about 93% of the rays, but yet doubling that to an SPF 30 will block out about 97%. Now, it is important to know that no SPF is going to block out 100% of the rays, and it may seem that that 93 and 97%, there's such a small gap between those. Does it really matter? Well, if you have a history of skin cancers or a strong family history, you know those numbers really do matter and can make a difference. So because you're not going to be getting 100% of sun protection, they usually advise for you to avoid being out in direct sunlight during the hours of 10 and 2. And to be honest with you, more of the research I'm seeing now and guidelines is that they're even saying between 10 and 4. So also consider things such as protective clothing, sunglasses, and hats, and trying to seek shade. Now, I get asked from time to time, what is the best SPF? And I can't really answer that question for you because SPF is so personal, and the best SPF is the one that you will wear. And because you're going to be wearing it, consistency is key. Now, another confusing thing is knowing how much SPF you need. The American Academy of Dermatology as well as the Skin Cancer Foundation suggest that 1 ounce, so basically think of like a shot glass, would be enough to cover your body with a main focus on those areas that are exposed to the sun. Now, I was thinking to myself, well, how can I, kind of disseminate about what that would look like over your entire body? And I started to think about something we use in nursing, specifically in burn patients, and it's called the rule of 9s. And basically you divide the body into segments of 9. And so, for example, each of your arms would be 9%, and so together that's 18%. The fronts of your legs are both 9%, and the backs are 9% each. So your legs are about 36% of your body. The front of your torso is 18%, the back is 18%, and then the front of your face is about 4.5%, and the back is 4.5%. So if you think about, if you had to divide that shot glass, roughly a third is going to be going on your legs and a third is going to be going on your torso. So then you want to divide the rest of that, among your arms and your face, and sometimes that helps. One of the things that we hear a lot about in discussions on SPF is whether an SPF is physical or chemical, and this can be a little bit confusing. When you hear the term physical, that is a mineral-based SPF. So ingredients such as zinc oxide and titanium dioxide are going to be the active ingredients in that SPF. Now, if it doesn't have either of those ingredients, it's considered a chemical sunscreen or an organic sunscreen. And the word organic comes from the sunscreen's active ingredients carbon structure, and that's kind of a better term from what I've learned recently than a chemical sunscreen, especially since everything is a chemical. But because most people understand the chemical versus physical designation, I'm going to stick with that for this video. Now, in terms of how these active ingredients work, it's been thought that physical sunscreens provide somewhat of a barrier to the skin and then reflect light off of the skin, whereas chemical sunscreens absorb the light and then turn it into heat. What I've since learned recently is that it's much more complex than that. And so because this is a video focused on kind of an overview on sunscreen and my favorite sunscreens, we're not going to be getting into the nitty-gritty of that, especially since I am not a chemist or a scientist. I am simply a nurse and a consumer myself. So we'll focus this video specifically on the ingredients, not necessarily how they work, because apparently there's a lot of overlap. Now, both physical as well as chemical sunscreens have their pros and cons. For a physical sunscreen, this is going to be a good option if you are sensitive prone or if you're post-procedure. However, if you find that in the past you've had some challenges with mineral-based makeup, frequently it is the titanium dioxide component of that. So if you find yourself in that boat, look for sunscreens that don't have titanium dioxide and depend mostly on zinc oxide. Now, one of the cons of physical or mineral-based SPFs is that sometimes they can feel a bit heavy on the skin, and because of the zinc oxide component, it can leave a bit of a white cast to the skin. Frequently, you'll find that brands will make these formulas tinted, but there's not really a universal color, and so sometimes that can also be a challenge if you have very light or a deeper skin tone. These formulas are effective as soon as you apply, so there's not much of a waiting period that you need to do before going out into the sun. Now, for chemical or organic-based sunscreens, these tend to be a little bit more lightweight. However, if you are a little bit sensitive prone, these can be a bit problematic. Now, if you find in the past that sunscreens have caused your eyes to become irritated, it's frequently a chemical in the chemical-based sunscreen that has caused the problem. Typically, it's advised that you wait about 30 minutes after application before going out into the sun. And the newer spray SPF formulas typically will have a chemical-based SPF. So one of the things that they're encouraging folks to do is just to be mindful of inhalation of that. And one of my tips, especially since you want to make sure you're getting an even application and a spray isn't going to be necessarily guaranteeing that, consider spraying it into your hand and then applying over the skin. Now, this is a bit of a sensitive topic. You will see some websites saying that sunscreen is toxic for you and that the sun is actually good for you, and sunscreen will contribute to vitamin D deficiencies. Now, as I mentioned, I am not a scientist, I am not a healthcare researcher, so I don't want to dive too deeply into this topic, but I did want to touch upon it. However, I am a healthcare professional, and I do read these studies because it's required as part of maintaining my license as well as my current schooling. What I can tell you is that it has been demonstrated that sun exposure is linked to skin cancer. And we already know that sun exposure is linked to premature aging, and they estimate about 90% of your skin's aging is due to the sun. Now, in terms of vitamin D, you might be getting less of that absorbed, but you do have the option of supplementing that with your diet, and you are still getting some vitamin D absorbed because, again, no sunscreen is going to be blocking out 100% of the rays. And I can't stress this point enough. If a group is making a claim, look into it, dive into the research yourself. Sometimes claims can be very far reaching, and just because there could be a correlation, which means that there's a relationship, doesn't necessarily mean that there's causation, meaning that one causes the other. So regardless of whether I'm talking about SPF or any other health-related topic, be a good health-related consumer. Talk to your healthcare provider and ask questions and see what is ultimately right for you. I'm going to share with you my favorite sun protection products, and I consider this a sunscreen wardrobe, and the reason for that is I like to have different options depending on what I'm looking for that day, depending on how much sun exposure I'm expecting to have, whether or not I'm wearing makeup. And one of the things that I advocate for is layering your SPF. So you might start with a primary SPF and then layer a primer that has SPF and then a foundation, and then you're reapplying, and then maybe your powder has SPF. So that's making sure that you have an adequate layer of SPF on your face, because sometimes it can be hard to make sure that you have enough. I'm going to start first with eyes. This is a product that I've been using, I want to say, for the last 4 or 5 months, and it's from one of my favorite brands, especially for sun protection, and that's Colorescience. This is the Total Eye 3-in-1 Renewal Therapy, and it's an SPF 35. The active ingredients in this is titanium dioxide, which is a 7.9%, and zinc oxide, which is 6.7. So this is going to be a physical or mineral-based sunscreen. And this was gifted to me from Colorescience. I received lab samples from them. This is actually lab samples. You can see that from time to time to try different things. And I really do enjoy trying those products, and so far I've really been a fan of pretty much everything that I've tried. And I'm going to talk to you about a new release that they're coming out with. I believe they've already come out with it this past week. So this is a very popular product over on Dermstore's website. It is already sold out. It is a little bit pricey. It's $69, but for me, I find that this really is a 3-in-1, and so I'm able to kind of skip over some other steps by using this product. Now, in terms of 3-in-1, I do look at this product as an eye cream. I don't have super dry skin underneath my eyes. My issues tend to be darkness as well as puffiness, and this definitely hits both of those needs. And it also has this really cool, see if I can get that off, kind of cooling applicator. To be honest with you, I just kind of push down on this, let a little bit of product come out, and then just use my fingers to apply. It also provides concealing as well as correcting. Because of the peach tone of this, it tends to counteract some of the darkness that I get, especially right here. So frequently I can even skip concealer or a corrector. I'll just use my foundation and kind of take it up right to that area, which we know can be very sensitive, and so this actually causes no irritation. And it does have an SPF 35, so I am able to protect that area of my face that can be a bit problematic with applying SPF. Now there is one color in this, and when I first got this I thought that it might actually be a little bit dark for me, but it does seem to work. I'm curious if going forward Colorescience will expand to have a variety of colors like they do in some of their other products, but so far I've been super impressed by this. I'm almost out of this and look forward to getting a refill. Alright, so next up is face, and I tend to divide my face days into makeup days as well as non-makeup days, and I will explain a little bit further. So on my makeup days, I have 2 SPFs that I find myself reaching for time and time again, and it's hard to find a good SPF that you enjoy using and that you can layer makeup over well, and the makeup doesn't break down, it doesn't slide around a whole lot, and these 2 are absolute holy grail products for me. The first is the Paula's Choice Resist Super Light Daily Wrinkle Defense Broad Spectrum SPF 30. Now this has in it a zinc oxide of 13%, and as you can see I'm almost out of this one. I think I've been through, I don't know, maybe 10 of these. I can't even keep track of how many of these I've gone through. Melanie of Mr. Kong's mom is who initially turned me onto this. I've been using this for about the last 4 years or so. I mean, pretty much ever since I started watching her channel, I heard her talk about this and I knew I had to try it. Now this is the first sunscreen that I started using on my face that I thought, I can really get down with using SPF every single day, especially under makeup, because it just performs so well. And it does have the zinc oxide in it, but this is a tinted formula, and I find that it does provide a little bit of coverage, so if you do have a deeper skin tone, this may be a little bit too light for you. And unfortunately, it is in one shade. I find it spreads very easily on the skin, it layers very well under makeup, and this also will double as a moisturizer. So if you have an oilier skin type, you might be able to get away with just using a serum and then moving directly into this. Now Paula's Choice says that this formula mattifies. I have a drier skin type, so I can't really attest to that. I find that it doesn't really mattify, but I know others that have used this and enjoy this SPF have said that it mattifies, but overall I find that it provides like a nice silky texture, but not like too silky, not like too dimethicone, but this will always be in rotation. I think the price point is decent. This is $33. All right, next up is a newer discovery of mine. This is from Ulta MD. It is the UV Physical Broad Spectrum SPF 41. I was introduced to this. I had this on my radar of products of wanting to try for quite some time, but I was introduced to this recently from the Skin Type Solutions team, who very generously sent this to me with some other goodies. And if you haven't seen that video about my skin type as well as my skin journey and the book that helped save my skin, I will definitely link that below so that you'll learn a little bit more about the Skin Type Solutions. But this particular SPF, it is a physical mineral based, and it has 7% zinc dioxide and 9% of zinc oxide as active ingredients. And like the Paula's Choice, this is mineral and physical based, but again, it's going to be having the titanium dioxide component, whereas the Paula's Choice only has zinc oxide. The other major difference is that the Paula's Choice is going to be an SPF 30, and then this one is going to be a 41. So you are getting added protection with this. I find that this particular one is a little bit silkier, but it doesn't spread quite as easily as the Paula's Choice, so I do find that I need a moisturizer prior to putting this on for my normal to dry skin. Another major difference is that this is water resistant, whereas the Paula's Choice is not. So looking at face sunscreens for myself, especially in the Florida sun, and now that we are in May, for the warmer months, I'm probably going to be reaching for this a bit more because I'm looking for the added protection as well as the water resistance. Not necessarily I'm going to be jumping in the water, but I am a sweater, as I've mentioned previously, so that is something that can also degrade sunscreen over time. And I'm not sure if I mentioned, but this one is also tinted like the Paula's Choice, and I think that this one is a little bit darker as well, and I was concerned that it might be a little bit too dark for my skin, but it blends in beautifully. Either of those options would be great if you have sensitive prone skin or are post-procedure. So as I mentioned, I occasionally get products from Colorescience to try, and this is a little lab sample. This is the newly released Total Protection Face Shield SPF 50. This has a 12% zinc oxide, and there's a slight tint to this. This is a very kind of thin sunscreen, and there's a slight tint to it. It's not as tinted, I would say, as the other two sunscreens, and I find that this wears very well under makeup. It is water resistant, I believe up to 40 minutes. It protects against UV light, infrared light, blue light, as well as pollution, and so I'm excited to be picking up a full size of this very soon. And I will include a link below to Colorescience. If you have not tried Colorescience before, I really do encourage you to try it. I'm going to share 2 more products that are absolute faves of mine. And if you decide that you want to buy directly from Colorescience, your first purchase, you will save 20%. So I mentioned that on my non-makeup days, I have another SPF that I like to use. This is a newer discovery of mine. This was sent to me from Trufora, and it's a Titanium Day Cream SPF 30. And that's what that looks like. It's got a nice little pump. And this has a 12.1% titanium dioxide. So most of the sunscreens we've talked about have either been titanium plus zinc or just zinc on its own. When I originally tried this, I didn't really like it, and the main reason is because it kind of gives a bit of a glow, and I found that just kind of layering makeup over it, I wasn't crazy about it, and that's just personally for me, for my skin. And this also has a bit of a pink tint. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. And I wasn't really quite sure about that. I mean, you can see that on my skin. It does have a bit of a pink tint, but it does tone down a little bit. And the more that you kind of blend it into the skin, and then sometimes I'll put kind of like a little bit of a powder over it, it gives a really nice glow that I am a big fan of. But I do find that I'm not much of a fan of putting foundation over this. So what I'll do is this will be my go-to sunscreen if I'm going to be running out of the house to go to the grocery store or to the gym. I know that I'm going to be doing my skincare routine maybe a little bit later on, and so this one is kind of my go-to for that. It also has kind of a bit of a faint scent, but I find that it's not irritating to my skin as well. So I'm not sure if you guys can kind of see that glow. So I like it as an option, and to me it just seems just really natural, and it just kind of gives a healthy appearance to the skin as well. Now I will say, if you have a golden undertone to your skin, I don't think that you would like that just because of the kind of slight pink tint to it. But if you have a neutral or a cool based undertone to your skin, I really do think that you might like that. So next up has been a favorite primer of mine. This is an old love, a rediscovery, and you guys are probably sick and tired of hearing about it, but I truly love it, and I'm only going to be talking about those things that I love on my channel. So this is from Hourglass, and it's the Veil Mineral Primer. It comes in this beautiful frosted glass packaging, and it's got a little pump. So I'm a big fan of this. I find no matter what makeup I put on over this, it just really layers beautifully. This is going to also be mineral based. It has, let's see, 4.2% zinc oxide and 2.45% of titanium dioxide. And this is going to give you a protection factor of 15. So it's not really going to be enough to be your sole SPF, but again, I do like the idea of layering my SPFs as I'm applying my makeup, as I go through the day, to ensure that I have adequate protection of my skin. Now for me, I find this does an awesome job of blurring my pores. It kind of diminishes the appearance of my redness, but I will caution you that if you have a special event coming up, this does give a little bit of a flashback, so if you know that you're going to be photographed with flash photography, I might stay away from this. All right, next up is foundation, and I'm going to start from a light coverage and kind of work my way up. This you can't even see from the packaging because it's all scraped off. This is another Colorescience product, believe it or not. This is the Tint Soleil. This is, I think, my second one, and as you can see, I'm almost done, and I actually have a backup. This is considered a whipped foundation, and it provides a light to medium coverage. It has an SPF of 30, and the active ingredients on this is a 4.8% titanium dioxide and a 6.7% zinc oxide. And this is also water resistant up to 40 minutes. I included this in my very first video that I made. It was my top beauty finds of 2017, and I constantly find myself reaching for this. If you're looking for like a BB cream type product that provides a light but buildable to medium coverage that you can apply with your hands in a hurry, I've applied this even like in the dark. I think that this is a great product. Now, it is a bit pricey. This is $55, and I think it is a little bit similar to the Tarte BB Treatment Primer. I believe that's the correct name on that, but of course you're going to get a lot more skincare benefits on something like this. Now, the shade range on this, they have light, medium, tan, and deep. I have been using light. I think once I'm done with this one, I might actually purchase a medium because I'm kind of right there in the middle. I think the light is sometimes a little bit too light for me, especially with summer coming up, so I think I'm going to get a medium and then just kind of blend the two for a perfect match. Now, this does have a silky texture, so if you're not a fan of those heavier silicone products for your face, then I would probably stay away from this. The next product I'm going to share with you is what I would call a solid medium coverage. This is a newer discovery of mine. I hadn't even had this brand on my radar until I started to hear Marnie, Miss Gold Girl, talking about it in its Flower Beauty. This is the Light Illusion Luminous Makeup with a nude skin feel. I am not entirely sure what nude skin feels like, but it says it provides all-day wear with a broad spectrum SPF 18, and the active ingredients on this is octinoxate at 5%, titanium dioxide 2%, and zinc oxide at 4.9. So this is going to be what's considered a mixed foundation because this is going to have chemical-based SPFs as well as physical. I would consider the finish on this to be very lightweight in feeling. I do consider this buildable. I think it's a solid medium, but you can build it up a little bit in areas. It's very natural and slightly luminous, and you can even apply like a translucent powder over it to kind of bring down a little bit of the shine. Now, this does have an SPF 18, so it's not necessarily going to provide enough protection for you throughout the day, but I think it's a great way to layer your SPF to ensure you're getting adequate protection. And I think that this is at a great price point. It's drugstore, it's less than $15, it's in a beautiful glass container, and it's got a little pump. And one of the things that I will say though about this particular foundation is that there's 12 shades, and they seem to be pretty heavy on like the medium to tan range. I am in the third lightest shade of L3. I think there's a little bit of opportunity on both sides of the spectrum to expand their shade range. All right, next up is a product that I think is pretty well known to the masses. This is from IT Cosmetics, and despite them calling this a CC cream, this is a full coverage foundation, you guys. This is definitely buildable to being full coverage. Now, this is a little travel sample that I have, but I do have a backup. The shade that I wear in this is light, and the active ingredients on this is going to be 9% of titanium dioxide and 6.3 of zinc oxide. So again, this is going to be physical sunscreen. Now, one of the things I really like about this product is that it has an SPF 50, which is a bit of a higher rating for color cosmetics. And it has a variety of color options. Their shade range, I think, is a little bit lacking on the deeper skin tones, but I do like that they have a variety of options regardless of what your skin concerns are, whether it's redness or acne or mature skin. So I think that there's kind of a product for everyone depending on your skin type, but I think there's opportunities in terms of skin tone. Now, my favorite place to purchase IT Cosmetics products is QVC, and that's usually because you can pay a little bit more, maybe like a couple dollars, and you get a free brush for free. So I'm going to link a option for you to purchase a full size of this, and I think for like $5 more you get a really nice paddle brush with that. So this is always in rotation for me. Now let's talk about reapplying SPF. The guidelines are to reapply your sunscreen every 2 hours. However, if you are coming in from the water, maybe the ocean or the pool, then you're going to want to reapply even if it hasn't been the 2 hours. And one of the challenges is, how on earth do you reapply your SPF over makeup? Do I have to take my makeup off and then reapply everything all over again? I can't really put sunscreen over my makeup, but there's been so many advances in how you can apply sunscreen products over your makeup and you're able to still maintain your look and get additional protection. And as a melanoma survivor, reapplication is something that's so important for me. If I didn't have this option, I think I would find myself being fearful of going outside for extended periods of time, and I would probably turn into a bit of a hermit. Now, in terms of reapplying my SPF, I have two favorite go-to products. I'm going to first share with you the one that's been in rotation the longest. I can't tell you how many of these I've repurchased. This is from Colorescience. I know, big surprise. This is the Sunforgettable Broad Spectrum SPF 50. This is a brush-on sunscreen. It's got this little part where you lift that up, that comes down, and then you would reapply it over the skin, and the powder just kind of disperses through the bristles. They've since reformulated this as well as repackaged it. So the reformulated version of this, I believe, is called the Total Protection Brush On Shield. These are a bit pricey. I think this retails for $65, but as I mentioned, you can either get this on sale at Derm Store or buying directly from Colorescience. The first time that you purchase from them, you're going to save 20%, so I think that that's a great way for you to try this if it's something that you've had on your radar. Now, the active ingredients in this is a 22.5% of both zinc oxide as well as titanium dioxide, so this is going to be physical only. As I mentioned, this has been reformulated, so not only is it going to provide UV protection, it's also going to provide against infrared light, blue light, as well as pollution. And it's also been repackaged because the new bristles are antimicrobial. This is actually my old one. I still am working my way through this, but I do have the newer version that has the antimicrobial bristles, so I'm really excited to dive into that very soon. And I wear the shade medium on this. It comes in fair, medium, tan, and deep. And one of the reasons that makes this a favorite is that it's super portable. I can put this in my bag. I frequently take this to work. Wherever I am, you can keep it in your car, and it's just super convenient, really quick and easy, and yep, always will be in my rotation. And last up, I believe that this product was released last year, and this is from Somerville. It is the Uncomplicated SPF 50. And one of the things that I like about this is that it's dual purpose. So not only are you able to reapply your sunscreen throughout the day, but it's also a makeup setting spray. The active ingredients on this is going to be chemical. This has a 3% avobenzone, 10% homosalate, 5% of octisalate, 10% of octocrylene, and 5% of oxybenzone. So for some skin types, this may be a little bit irritating. For me personally, even though I have sensitive prone skin and I tend to stay away from heavier chemical-based sunscreens, this has caused me no irritation. The only thing that I can think of is because I'm applying it over makeup. Maybe, you know, if I was applying this directly to my skin as my primary SPF, it might cause some irritation, but it hasn't caused any irritation yet. And I actually talked about this recently in my Summer Skin Essentials, What's in My Box video, which I will link. If you haven't checked that out, definitely check that out. And this truly is a great summer skin essentials. So this is a spray. If I can take the top off, and once you open it up, it gives a really fine mist, and it has a really nice non-offensive scent. The scent hasn't caused any irritation to my skin, as well as the alcohol. Alcohol is an ingredient in this, so if you have sensitive skin or a drier skin type, then you might experience some dryness or sensitivity. However, this has not caused me either. Now, in looking at a size comparison, this is definitely not going to be quite as portable as the Colorescience, but it's one of my favorites, and I really also like how my makeup looks. When I apply this over, it kind of gives a little bit of a blurring effect to the skin. This video would not be complete if we didn't discuss lips. Lips is an area that you can prematurely age, and it's also an area that can get skin cancer, believe it or not. And there's a lot of really great lip balms out there that have an added bonus of SPF protection. One that I've been using recently, this is just a little sample and I've been enjoying it. It's from the Hemp's line, and it's the Yuzu and Starfruit Daily Herbal Lip Balm, and it has an SPF of 15. Cute little guy there. And you can just kind of throw this in your pocket. And this has a 3% avobenzone, a 7.5 of octinoxate, and 3% of octocylate. And my advice on finding a good lip product with an SPF is to find one that tastes good, or at least doesn't taste bad, because if you don't enjoy using it, then you're not going to. Alright, so last up is body. This has been an SPF that I've been reaching for recently and I've really enjoyed it, especially with the summer months. It has a nice, clean, summery scent. This is from Australian Gold and it's from their botanical line, and this is an SPF 30 and it's a mineral-based sunscreen. It's water resistant for 80 minutes and the active ingredients are a 3% each of titanium as well as zinc oxide. This is going to have a bit of a white cast to it, and I'm going to share with you. This is my new bottle of this. And I do believe they have a tinted version of this that I'm eager to try. So as you can see, this does have a little bit of a white cast to it, but this is going to be my tip that I'm going to share with you for this video. If you find that that smells good. If you find that you find a SPF like this that you really do enjoy, but you are getting that white cast, consider adding a little bit of a body bronzer to it. That's going to counteract the white cast and just give a really nice kind of bronzy glow to the skin. This one is from NARS. It's in the Laguna. I've had this for a while. It's actually like a body illuminator. And I'm sorry about my nails. I just realized how terrible they look right now. I'm going to be painting them later on. But this is really nice. You can combine that with that and just kind of cut down on some of the white cast, so it's going to apply much better to the skin. This gives a really nice kind of powdery finish to the skin. I find myself just kind of touching my palm now. I think it comes at a great price point as well. I think this is about $15 at Ulta, and you can also use the commonly found $3 off $15 purchase coupons on this, which will bring the price down just a little bit. Alright guys, so that is it. That is my SPF overview video, as well as kind of an overview on my sunscreen SPF wardrobe and some of my favorites that I found over time. I would love to know in the comments below what some of your favorite SPFs are, because I would love to try those. I'm always on the hunt for the next latest and greatest SPF, especially so that I can share with you guys. And if you haven't already checked out Risa's video and her channel, I'm going to link that. Check out her channel. She's super sweet and has some amazing content. I've learned so much from her, especially with makeup on my hooded eyes. She's a makeup artist, super knowledgeable, and like I said, incredibly sweet. And if you enjoyed this video, consider giving me a like, and I would love to have you here on a regular basis, so consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. And thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day with me. I greatly appreciate it, and until next time, take care. Bye-bye.